Hey everyone, welcome to Limitless Radiocast, episode 41. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We're hanging out with the Silver Fox today. We'd like to thank True Tubes Tattoo Supply for sponsoring this show. All you tattooers out there, go out and get all your equipment, your inks, your needles, your pens, your PPE, anything you need for tattooing. True Tubes Tattoo Supply has you covered. Limitless at checkout. Get a 10% discount. Check them out. Remember, stay true. We'd also like to thank Magic City Brewing Company located in Akron, Ohio. For all your wonderfully great crafted beers, check out Magic City Brewing in Akron, Ohio. Remember to go out there and check out rollamongus.com also. For all your fight gear needs, they have fight shorts, gis, standard gis, lanky gis, rash guards, anything. Some t-shirts, sweatshirts, accessories. You want it, they got it. Rollamongus.com, Limitless20 at checkout for a 20% discount. Check them out. Also, go out there and check out battlebomb.com. Limitless20 at checkout for a 20% discount. They have CBD and non-CBD rubs for those aches, pains, those muscle strains. Put it on, rub it in, gonna feel great, trust me. Try it out a little bit, see what it does. I'm telling you right now, I use it all the time. It's gonna feel great. Remember, battlebomb.com, Limitless20 at checkout. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you guys very much. We have a great guest lined up today, Karel Pravec. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt under Renzo Gracie. He's been training for a very long time, and it's such an honor for us to sit down with him. He is also inducted into the Martial Arts Hall of Fame in New Jersey. He also owns and is the lead instructor of Silver Fox BJJ because that's his nickname, and I'm sure we'll get into why that's his nickname. Karel, thanks so much for joining us, man. We appreciate you very much.
It's my pleasure. I always enjoy talking with people about jiu-jitsu and the community and where it's heading and all this other stuff. So I'm looking forward to this talk.
Yeah, thank you so much. Did you? I'm just going to ask this right away. Did you ever compete in TKD?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I did. I competed in some, open karate tournaments back, man, probably early 90s. Yeah. Okay. I think it was more not just Taekwondo, but it was, I think around that time, Taekwondo started to go in kind of weird directions. So a lot of people either stayed where if you went to an open karate tournament, you'd see guys with different disciplines, karate, Taekwondo, and a few others, and they all looked the same. And then the Olympic style Taekwondo started to develop at the same time. So depending which way people went, I personally prefer the open karate tournaments, which seem to be a lot more kind of realistic than the Olympic style Taekwondo. I mean, if you get one of those guys, they do spinning hook kick, you go down, but sure. Just like no punching to the face, no, the punches to the chest really don't count for a whole lot. So it got the rule set made it sort of what it is today to some extent. So, but I did.
Nice. Yeah, I knew. You're third degree, aren't you? Third degree black belt.
Yes. I haven't really practiced it as that. I mean, if anything, it's more kickboxing style that's geared more towards MMA than anything else at this point.
And the nice thing with TKD, I mean, the kicking. I mean, obviously, that's like
long range. Yeah,
long range kicking is very good. Nothing like BJJ, which you obviously I think we all here would say it's the greatest martial art on the planet because of your ability to close and do what you do.
But I agree.
And I always have funny conversations about that, TKD, karate, and whatever, and if it's evolved into more of a self-defense thing or teaching younger people or people in general the ability to defend themselves versus just one discipline, because in the real world it doesn't work, so to speak, so much as, let's say, jiu-jitsu does.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
I think if you're going to study one style for self-defense, I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is it.
Yeah,
it's good if you can combine a couple, but if you have time for one, I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the most effective self-defense style out there. And the reason for that is, once you've been training for a little while, you roll, and when you roll, many times the intensity and sort of the pressure and so forth, kind of mimics real life circumstances to a large extent.
Yeah, for sure,
absolutely.
Definitely.
And, we still, like at our gym at East Coast, we have a big Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu program now, but we started as a karate gym back in the day. And we still have a we still call it karate because that's what still people kind of look for at times. But our karate program is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing, and some old Gracie self-defense. Like, we still have the traditional values and all, I think karate taught me a lot when I was a kid, in that confidence and kind of thing. But we don't do katas and forms or nothing like that. We keep it very functional and progressive, Yeah.
I think, to be honest with you, my view is all martial arts are good, but obviously I'm biased towards Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Is that what drew you, like when you first saw it, when you saw the difference in that martial art, did it intrigue you like, oh, this is a puzzle? Yeah,
I think at the time, my instructor wasn't teaching so much. So me and a few other senior students were teaching a lot of classes, and we kind of were training on there was like 5 or 7 guys that we trained a lot on our own. We were going to a lot of different seminars. We did everything like Joe Louis kickboxing, Superfoot Bill Wallace, seminars. And at the time, the seminars were generally like a weekend long events. Jeet Kune Do, Larry Hartzell, grappling. We did a lot of different things. And, at one point, one of my training partners gave me the Gracie's in Action tape and said they're coming to New Jersey in I believe it was 1991. They came to Parsippany, New Jersey. And it was, at the time, there was 20 of them. And it was like 12 adults, 8 kids. The adults was included Hickson, Hoyler, Helio, Horian, like the whole crew came, and it was actually, there was no mats. We did it on the carpet in a big ballroom in a big Sheraton hotel. And at the time, at the end, they would roll with everybody. And you realize like, oh man, like when it comes to this, you're completely helpless, completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so basically whatever we learned, we absorbed in the training for the year. Then I went to another seminar. By then they start to splinter. So they did another one in the city. And then in 93, I believe, Horian sent Craig Kukuk to the East Coast, to New Jersey to teach, and they were teamed up. Then he had a falling out with him. He teamed up with Renzo to do the tapes. He had a falling out with him, wound up moving to Idaho. So I've been with Renzo ever since he came to New Jersey. But, at the time, I kind of just wanted to get a better understanding what I would do. Should I ever be clinched or go on the ground? And over time, you start to realize how intricate and technical and how much there is to it. And over time, over a span of about 5 years, I start to drift, from doing it once a week to doing it twice a week to doing it 3 to doing it basically now every day.
Did you still get to train every day?
Yeah.
Nice.
But awesome. Like right now, I've had a bad back ever since I was a kid. And, every 5, 7, 10 years, it kind of goes extra bad. It's been extra bad since May.
Oh, I'm sorry
so
to
I
hear
do
that.
a lot of, it's all right. There's a lot of structural damage. So, right now I'm kind of overemphasizing my solo water training so I teach 5 days a week. I train every single day, but some days kind of that I want to have light or recovery training. I do solo drills in the water, but I train every single day.
God, speaking of those solo drills, so I was reading about, and I told you this before we were starting, I was reading about you and everything, and I saw, the fluid BJJ, and you developed that in the water. Was that something that you just were like, I'm going to start doing this, like go to like a Y or something where there was a pool and just start doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
It was actually a Y in the city. What happened is I at the time, this is back, I've been doing it more than 20 years. There used to be a Sabaki challenge. It was an 8-man tournament in Colorado by Japanese Kyokushin karate, and you had two of these guys like would be wailing on each other, like no, you could kick to the face, no punches to the face. And the one year that the guy won it, he actually they said it's kind of interesting about him that he rarely trains with others, that he's basically developed his technique primarily through solo drills.
Oh wow.
And it kind of got me thinking. I was like, you know what, I like water, and I'm sure the resistance of the water can basically make you faster. So I initially started doing striking in the water, especially like when I was traveling for work, it's easy to get a pool with a hotel with a pool. At the time, if I didn't have a pool, I would move around the furniture and would do 1,000 kicks before I'd go to work. But if you get the pool, it's even better. And I like water. I always like water. I always enjoy being in the water. So, and I know, I started striking primarily stand up, and then I started to incorporate some jiu-jitsu stuff. And now literally you can drill anything in the water. You could drill berimbolo. You could drill flying arm bars. You can drill flying triangles. You can drill, floating guard passes. So every time I go in the water, I have 2 or 3 things that I want to focus on. And then I just kind of, as I go through it, I just start to add, or some other things come to my head and I start to add to it. It's kind of an oddball thing, but I credit that for making me as good as I am today, and probably allowing my body to function at a pretty high level. Without it, I don't know if I'd be able to do that.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, so I know in the past, and I've done some like solo, just training, just workout. If I go to the Y and stuff, I'll get in the hot tub and then I'll get in the pool to cool down, but I'll do some stuff in the pool. And I've been doing this for quite a while. Even before I started jiu-jitsu, and it, because of the compression of your body is lifted by being in there. So you can actually flow a little bit more. And if you have any kind of aches and pains, you don't feel them so much because of that compression's being pulled from you with the water.
And I think the flow of the water over your muscles and tendons and everything is therapeutic. So you have decompression, but you also have resistance of the water, which makes you very fast.
Sure.
It's kind of funny if you think about it, out of martial arts, you see boxer shadow boxing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You see, Muay Thai guys or karate guys doing solo drills. Absolutely. You see wrestlers practice shots,
wrestlers,
right?
Yeah.
How often do you see a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy do solo drills?
Not often.
Very rarely. Yeah. And I think it's a highly underrated tool. And particularly for me in the water, because my like I said, I had a lot of structural damage. I was born with some stuff. I've done a lot of physical labor when I was, about 8, 10 years old, which probably made things worse. And I'm sure jiu-jitsu doesn't help. So the water, it kind of allows me to build muscle memory, play around with some interesting things, and then test them out on the mats. And I think it would behoove people to do a little bit more of that. But, it's sort of oddball thing that it has not become mainstream by any means.
Sure. What I'm finding, even in my short time in doing jiu-jitsu, is it's the oddball stuff that actually helps you almost more than maybe watching YouTube videos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's funny because Chad and I joke, and I'm older, so I don't really get into that. I rather watch like either live or, the Masters or ADCC. I'd rather sit down and just watch matches over matches versus watching the technique, because I just feel like it's not conducive for me at my age to just watch a technique. I rather take what Chad's teaching me, in the gym, or what the other upper belts are teaching in the gym and stuff like that. So it's kind of, people. I
think to some extent, it depends where you are, your progression. I think around, high level blue and purple belt, you start to develop your own little way of doing jiu-jitsu. It's driven by your personality, body build, and so forth, a few other factors. And I think it's good to start to add, there's certain things that I emphasize for myself. And that's when you can start to add things strategically, not just like, sometimes people look at YouTube and see something amazing that a guy that, is, 23 years old, very flexible, that they will never be able to duplicate. And it's not going to help their game a whole lot, but they look at it, it's like, oh man, it's like, I want to, and you better off kind of focusing on things that are ancillary to your game and to what your teacher is teaching.
Sure. Like me watching the guy at the, I forget, it was Eddie Bravo. I think it was an Eddie Bravo student that did the Double Bucky, Bucky show. And I was like, yeah, that was awesome. I will never do that in my life. I actually joked with guys at the gym. I'm like, hey, your body style is set up for that. You do that.
No, it's funny because you see some, like you said, there's certain, they're amazing competitors, but there are very few, very, very small percentage of the jiu-jitsu population will be able to, if they put in the time and play around with that stuff, very small population will be able to duplicate it.
Yeah.
But, people do what they want to do. So.
Right. And I'm sure you found that over just being in jiu-jitsu for so long and studying and seeing and teaching it, like, everyone's an individual, really.
Yeah, true.
When it comes to it,
So I try to teach kind of broad game so people can pick up things that are relevant to most relevant to them. And, they should, as you get through the upper belts, you should have an understanding of pretty much broad techniques, but clearly you'll be better at certain things than others. Sure.
Like Chad can't pass his guard, but I think that's most black belts, right? For under
hopefully. Yes, should be like that.
Yes. Just get tripod swept like 15 times in a 6-minute period. It's like, come on.
Well, that's the best. One of the best parts about jiu-jitsu. It's a very you get your feedback very quickly.
Yes, you do. Because
instantly.
Yeah.
And you have to be confident in that too. Actually, and Chad, I didn't tell you about this. We were talking the other day in the gym. Karel, I was talking to another teammate, and like Chad's smaller than me. Like, so if we roll, he'll pull guard, but he does open guard right away because he already knows what he's going to go for. He goes that tripod sweep, which is really good, foot on the hip, and so on and so forth. And that's what someone was telling me. They're like, you have to make a decision when you go to that. Like, you either you're going to know you're going for a sweep if you're going to open your guard, or you're going to get passed all the time, or you want to go to close right away. And I was like, okay. It was almost, I guess it's kind of dumb, but it was like an aha moment for me because I never really thought it in that aspect. I just thought pulling guard and then I would try to work from there, but then I end up moving my hips so much. It's like, oh man, I'm so tired right now because I'm trying to keep this guy from trying to get by me,
Yeah. If you're playing open guard, you better have a plan.
Yeah, you need to attack immediately because otherwise, it's you open your guard. So
yeah, it's getting smashed, Terry, and side control, and I'm going, come on. And then the whole time I'm thinking, why did I do that? And it's over. So.
Yeah, but that's the path. Initially you will be dominated, you will be swept, you will be submitted, and that's initially very first steps in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is just being comfortable being in uncomfortable places. That's literally the first step. You may not be able to escape, but at the very least you kind of feel like, okay, I'm not gonna hyperventilate, I'm not gonna freak out. I'm getting comfortable, and then over time you develop escapes, and then once you start to escape, you use them to get into better positions, and then you start to go for, it's just a natural progression.
Sure.
And we talked, Karel, I'm sure you're the same way. Like, everybody has these big goals, which is awesome. My goal is to be a black belt someday, whatever. But I think the small goals get lost, right?
Yeah.
Like, sure, when you're a white belt, yes, I want to be a blue belt, but that's 2 to 3 years down the road. What are my small goals in between there?
Yeah, exactly. Right? And I think it makes the path for the practitioner a little bit easier if they start to work on the small goals, because then you start to see the results a little bit quicker versus the big goals, because the big goals, they seem so far away that sometimes it becomes overwhelming. Whereas, like you're on the bottom and you couldn't escape, but okay, you didn't hyperventilate. You tried to use some technique. Okay, you didn't escape, but that's, at least you made their steps in the right direction.
100%. Yeah. That's kind of what that's how I started to approach it, Karel, and Chad knows this. Like, after a while, obviously I was in that new little panic, little whatever, like going through the process. But then I started going, hey, I wanted to do this for all the different reasons. What a lot of people do. It was more of a puzzle for me. It was more of a challenge for me. And I wanted to be uncomfortable, and I wanted to be okay in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
So then I started doing that, where I started breaking down the movements and saying, okay, how does this work? Or how does that work? In that nature, versus going, oh, I want to get to this belt, or I want to get to this belt. I'm like, no. I have to set this little thing and get here first, because I'm never going to get up here if I do that.
Yeah. I think it's important. I think for people to, every time they come to class, they should have a goal basically to learn something, which is somewhat vague, but the idea is when you go in, after taking the class, you should be able to pick up 1 or 2 things that you maybe did not know before, and do 1 or 2 things better than you did the day before or a week before. That's it. If that should be your goal going into class, not, okay, I'm not going to tap, I'm going to beat the piss out of this guy.
Right.
Because we're in, if you don't approach it with that mentality, you're bound to have disappointments. Maybe you're better than that guy, but maybe you had a rough day, you hadn't slept 3 days, really well, you're tired, the guy is fresh and he gets the better of you. And that's a disappointing day if you have the mentality like, I want to beat this guy. If you have a mentality like, okay, I'm very tired, but I'm going to try to escape from the bottom side control a little bit, using this escape, and it worked a little bit better than last time, or I was able to regain guard a little quicker. That's a good day. That's a good day for you. And if you look at it that way, it becomes a much more enjoyable journey, because it's like one thing that I always ask my students, has anybody ever heard me say that jiu-jitsu is easy? It's not. It's very, very difficult. Yeah. And as long as you come in with sort of, that's why I never refer to my school as a gym. I refer to it as an academy or school, because you come in to learn something, not to win. When you compete, you want to win. But on a day when you come in just to pick up a little bit more knowledge.
Yeah, that's actually really
that's good. And I think we talk those small goals. I think they have to be realistic and attainable for whatever rank you are, right?
Absolutely.
So if you're the 2 or 3 stripe white belt and you're rolling with that purple belt, getting mad because you haven't passed this guard, maybe that's not an attainable goal for that rank, right?
Yeah, but maybe an attainable rank for him is to, keep the guy at bay for, another 30 seconds.
Yeah,
or if he passes your guard, you actually re-guard it rather than getting submitted immediately. Again, that's a much more productive way to look at your progression in jiu-jitsu and make class enjoyable. Because at the end of the day, I hope that every one of my students makes this a long-term pursuit.
Right.
And you need to enjoy it. If you don't, it's going to be a rough road.
It'll be rough. Yeah. Yeah.
I imagine that's why the turnover is so high. You know what I mean? Like the percentage of people that drop as they keep going because of that, because they get so frustrated and they don't open their mind to allow the other stuff in. They're just set on one thing. And so then they just blow themselves right out of it. And it's like, well, I'm not going to do this anymore because it's not fun. And it should be fun. Yeah. I mean, yes, it's hard. It's super hard. I tell people all the time, like, why would you do this? I'm like, I love it. And it's hard. Like, I'm not going to tell you it's easy. Like new people come to the gym. I'm like, it's not going to be easy, but no, you belong here. Like put your effort in, like it's fine, but it's a hard thing.
Yeah. People will respect, at the end of the day, it becomes a community because we all respect somebody that's been taking that path with us, whether it's a year, whether it's 2 years, whether it's 10 years. We just automatically respect them for being able to suck it up long enough to become. And that's why I think the BJJ schools tend to be very, tight knit to a large extent. I think a lot of people quit because they perceive that they're not getting better. But the problem is I see two fairly big problems. Is one is they come once every 2 weeks for 9 months. They think they've been training 9 months. No, you haven't been training 9 months. Right. If you come once every other week, you basically have been training for a month. So, right. But they don't make that mathematical equation. They just look at the time when they first came in. That's why I use attendance cards as opposed to like automated swiping. Oh, yeah. I actually bought the system for automated swiping, but I discarded it. And the second thing is sometimes you get this, it's usually sort of younger athletic guys where like they want to be in every single class. They want to train 7 days a week. And for six weeks, they literally want to live in my academy. And then they quit because they think, shit, like I gave it everything I got. And 6 weeks and it's not a
guy over there
better.
Still beating me up.
And they don't understand that this is, again, you go with guys that have been training 2-3 years, maybe not 6 or 7 days a week, but 3 times a week. And they have a lot more mat time than you do. So even though they're not as athletic as you are, they're better at it than you are. And sure. So I think, there's a lot of different reasons. I think one of the most important reasons for people, if you listening to this and if you're a relatively new practitioner, the single most important thing I think that you can do for yourself is make Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu part of your weekly habit. So don't go when you feel like it, because guess what? You're not going to feel like it a lot of times because you're either beat up or tired and you don't want to get your ass kicked. No. A lot of time, make it a weekly habit. If you can get away with 3 days a week of training, that's your weekly habit. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, no matter what. If you beat up, just try to, go with guys that, maybe, training partners that aren't going to beat you up so much, or you have a better relationship with. But you need to make sure that this is absent some emergency. This should be your weekly habit. And when it becomes a weekly habit, then you will be consistent. When you're consistent, you will get better.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
It's that simple.
Yeah. I've told people that get injured and like, oh, I can't do class. I'm like, but you can do something. Even if it's putting your gi on and watching me teach. I think that keeps the habit. Like, I'm here every night at 7:30, right? So once you get out of that, it's hard to get back in. Yeah.
You get out of the habit. I've seen examples of guys like they blew out their ACL and all they did is, they just come in and watch class. And the next thing you know, they're back on the mats in 9 months. And once, like, basically all you could do is cross collar choke. But man, once he got his hands on the collar, it was done. No matter who it was. So, there's a lot of different ways to do it. I think visual learning, for me, everybody learns differently. For me, it's very difficult to learn from reading things or listening to a lengthy explanation. Sure. I have that ACD, OCD, ADHD. I just like my eyes glaze over and I'm like, 10 minutes later, wait, what did you just say? For me, it's the best way to learn is by doing, by actually, like, you can literally give me any problem, I will figure out a solution if you show it to me and I can feel it. But that sort of intuition I had to develop over time of training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a long time. But the visual for me is the best way. But if you guys are more visual learner, watch videos, go to class, observe class, it's going to keep you in that habit. And you'll be amazed how tightly knit your academy, if you're at the right place, is where guys come off the mats. Man, good to see you. I'm glad you're doing better. When you're ready, we'll just do drills that's not going to put your whatever injured areas at risk. Videos, it can be very, especially guys that are almost like doing this either professionally or quasi professionally. It can be very frustrating, just like, make yourself do that. I just recently had an epidural, didn't work for me, but I had to basically take, I think, 3 or 4 days off and, just watch it. so guys, do as I say, not as
you do. Chad and I are both with you though, Karel. We're both very hands-on. I mean, visual, obviously watching and visual, but if you gave me like a book to read it, I would be like, man, I'm a smart guy, but I'm not, I can't do this. That's why at seminars, I love the breakdown of the technique. So it'll be like, here, and then do it. And then we'll add to that and do it. And then add, instead of going from A to Z and then go, hey guys, go ahead and do it. And it's like, wait, I'm still on A.
I'm still stuck on the early parts of the alphabet.
Right. So do you think let's say this, the Western way of martial arts obviously is not like BJJ. Like BJJ came in and was different. Do you think it dumbed it down at first, or people didn't really understand it because they understood the way like karate and stuff like that was introduced here? Does that make sense?
I think, to be honest with you, I think there were two reasons for it. So if you go back 25, 30 years ago, when BJJ first kind of came to the US, at least on the East Coast, I think it was a little bit earlier in California, but it was still very, very marginal.
Sure.
I think there were two reasons for it. One is that at the time, as it, like, a lot of people didn't believe in it until sort of the UFC started to come out, where,
right,
you know what, I'll crack the guy in the head. He's down. He's done. And the other one was a lot of guys kind of maybe thought it was effective, but they just couldn't hack. Being a black belt in other styles where people bow to you, call you sir, and kiss your ass, and suddenly you're a guy that back in the early days there was just white and occasional blue belt, but a guy that trained consistently for 6 months could just wipe the mats with you at the time. So I think that was sort of the reason why it was a little slow. I mean, I'm looking at a lot of high level martial artists, and you have broken down into two groups where they started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They realized how effective it was, and they've been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for the last 20, 25, even 30 years. And then you have the other part where, like, I still get guys that are, 40s or even the early 50s. Yeah, man, I've been interested in this ever since I saw Royce, in the first UFC. I'm like, okay, that's been almost 30 years ago. What happened in the intervening 25,
Sure. Yeah. I always think too, like looking at, and when earlier, we talked about how hard it is. BJJ is super hard. And sometimes I think people go, oh, well, I can get a black belt in some other discipline and it will be 3 years and I get a black belt versus, 10 plus years to become a black belt in BJJ. And sometimes I tell people, and I just was talking about this on a show recently where someone was like, oh, how long have you been doing it? Oh, you're only a white belt. And I was like, yeah, it's really hard. You can come down to the
nephew, Timmy, just got his third degree at the age of 8.
Yeah. And that's I have 3 kids, and two of my kids, they're both first degree in TKD, and my youngest one started, and then I started BJJ, and he was like, Daddy, I want to do what you do. And I said, all right, come over to the dark side. So and so now he does it too, and he loves it, which is it's awesome.
It's just a different system. I do believe, like, listen, any martial art, even if you're doing Tai Chi, Kung Fu, it's better than nothing.
But 100%.
Obviously,
yes, 100%.
I think if you're gonna choose one, me personally, I believe this is the most effective one.
Yeah.
The puzzle, the Rubik's Cube. It's the giant Rubik's Cube.
Yeah. It constantly changes shape. So it's not always a cube. Yeah. Sometimes you get a circle, octagon, or whatever.
Whatever.
And the colors.
Yes.
Just when you think you had it put together, I was like, oh, crap. Okay.
Right.
Back to the drawing board.
Back. Do you still find yourself doing that? Do you see some stuff now and you're like, whoa, I never looked at it in that way?
Yeah. It's like, it's a never ending journey. I don't respect, unless the guy can't move. I don't respect black belts. They get their black belts. They walk around like, and then not really, trying to help improve. I actually had a situation where I had to get rid of one of my kids instructors, and he couldn't believe that because he won the Nogi Worlds at Blue Belt, and he couldn't believe that I would do that to a world champion. And first of all, that's not even the issue, but he actually quit. And to me, if I don't believe in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you cannot be a good teacher if you're not a good student. If somebody puts a gun to my head and says, okay, you cannot be a teacher anymore, you can only be a teacher or a student, I'd be a student, because you cannot be a good teacher without being a good student.
Yeah, that's actually an excellent, for everybody out there listening, that's an excellent quote that a lot of people should probably write down, because that's also life. If you can't be, you know what I mean? That actually pertains to your everyday life. So everyone out there, pull over your car right now, write this quote down from Karel, because put it on your dash, put it on your desk, put it on your computer, wherever it's at, because it's true to life and to not only to BJJ, but anything else that you're doing. Because
yeah, guys, if you want to be good at something, you got to pursue excellence. Don't settle for mediocre.
Yeah.
You may be mediocre now, but if you have the attitude that you're pursuing excellence, that's the right attitude.
Yeah.
You may not be athletic. That doesn't matter. It's the attitude. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. You got to change your mindset, especially in today's life, and obviously forever. This is not just a new evolution of something that has come, but in the world that we live in now, I tell people all the time, I'm like, you have to change your mindset. You can't just live in this me mindset. You have to open it. You have to be willing to do stuff that maybe you never wanted to do before, no matter what it is, but you have to push yourself. No one went to school today and tomorrow they're graduating and going, yay. No one went to BJJ today and they're black belt tomorrow in anything, so push yourself, grind.
Yeah.
It's hard. Life's supposed to be
I agree.
hard, So how's the academy doing?
We're coming back. I think COVID, hit us pretty hard like everybody else, but,
sure.
We're only shut down for about 3.5 months, but, it goes in cycles again. Once things start to open up, we're starting to go back. And then once the case numbers again went up, some people had to, for whatever reason, maybe they were, they had a family member that was higher risk, so they had to freeze themselves but it's become almost like we're going through these waves, and I'm looking at the numbers in Europe where they're going through their like 4th or 5th wave.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the answer is. I believe that hopefully that I don't think the vaccine is the answer, because even countries where they have 70%, 80% vaccination rates, they still going through the 4th, 5th, or whatever wave they have. Maybe the cure, when they come up with simple, easily available pills that actually can cure most of the people fairly, without the most sick going into the hospital. But I don't know. But we're coming back. We're just kind of training, and trying to, just get back on the horse, so to speak.
Well, good. That's good. I'm glad to hear.
And during that shutdown, Karel, you guys pivoted and went like on social media heavy, right?
Yeah, I've never really paid attention to my YouTube channel before then. We just put stuff on there. So I was basically doing a lot of seminars internationally and teaching at my academies. But since we basically realized that nobody could do anything, so we had a relatively new academy in Butler, New Jersey, and it's got 2 mats, and we decided that we're going to do a daily, we called it an antivirus edition. We did daily show, so we filmed every single day. And initially I thought we were going to do it for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and we would usually after filming, we'd battle each other hard. And after about 2 weeks, we started to break down, and I was like, guys, we can't break down, because we may be doing this for a while.
Yeah.
And it was weird because we wound up doing 99. I didn't want to go to 100. Because it feels like it's okay. It's a nice, neat package. We close it up. So we did 99 straight episodes every day.
Wow.
And I told, because BJJ Fanatics reached out to me to do some instructional. I said, listen, I got to do this until once things start to come back to normal, I don't have to do a daily one anymore, I will come up. And I literally, it was weird. We finished the 99th episode, I think was on a Saturday. On Sunday, I trained in the pool just to recover in the water. And Monday, I couldn't get out. I couldn't move. Monday just seized up. And it's weird. I believe if I had to do 125, I don't think it would have seized up. But I think it seized up because it knew it could seize up. So I was like, just, self-medicating all different things. And fortunately, it released like 3 days later. I was able to drive up to Massachusetts, do the first instructional. But it was very cool, because what we do is, it's basically I do it now weekly. Now we do it every Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, and it's basically interactive. It's what we do is we basically, people that are live are asking questions, and we demonstrate the answer. So it's troubleshooting. It's very nice. Specific to people's questions, and we try to have fun with it. We've done some screwball stuff on it. One time I accidentally put Enrique out, and we just had a lot of fun with it. Episode 19.
Then I was doing another accident.
It was. He didn't tap. And, I did another podcast a few weeks back, and the guy reminded me of episode 69, and then I just started laughing because I forgot about it. So there's some fun stuff, but it was nice is we literally had a global audience. We literally had every continent. We had guys from Brazil, Venezuela, nice. Costa Rica, Canada, all over US. We had Sweden, Italy, Germany, Czech Republic, Poland, Russia, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand, India. We had literally every continent represented. We actually had people that never did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to watch us. Yes.
Wow.
So if you guys, want to have, and we had actually one of the regular viewers made an index of all the techniques, because sometimes we cover, 5 to 7 things in one episode.
Sure.
Because it's very specific to not, okay, let's talk about an arm bar from the top, because that's a broad topic that might take us, an hour and a half for me, or 2-hour seminar or 3-hour seminar to do that. It's more like, okay, when I try to armbar the guy from the top, he does this, and we troubleshoot that specific question. So yeah, I think our subscriber went from like 2,000 to like we're 11,000 something now.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
But it's it requires, first of all, it's clear that we have fun with it, because again, I believe you got to enjoy jiu-jitsu. I want everybody to enjoy it as much as I do, and you got to have consistency. People like every day. Does that include Saturday and Sunday? Yes. The last time I checked, Saturday and Sundays are
part
days.
of the week. Yes, they're part of the week. That's so awesome. It's a great idea, and you changed your blueprint under unfortunate circumstances. Yeah.
I just wanted to do something for the community, and it was weird. Like the people all over the world started calling themselves antivirus tribe, and to this day, many of those guys, tune in on a regular basis, or if they can't, once the live portion is over, we just put it up on, then it stays there permanently. And, when I was doing it, I literally felt like I was teaching a global class, and you could talk to the people, and, it was, I think it was good for the BJJ world. That was good for me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, you made some international friends that you didn't have already, because you already.
Yeah.
That's really
that's
cool.
For sure.
Yeah, that's cool. Do they like message you and stuff, like some of the international?
Oh yeah. I
nice.
got questions. Yeah. I got questions. I do. So I've also changed a little bit the way I do seminars. This kind of woke me up a little bit. I did a 7-seminar tour in Germany in 9 days.
Wow.
The long way. And don't get me wrong, I love being on the mats. I love teaching, but what I don't like is, get to the hotel after dinner, 3 or 4 guys go to dinner, the diehards that don't have to work the next day or whatever. Mm-hmm. We get back to the hotel, 12:30, 1 o'clock at night. I, unpack my stuff to let it dry out. In the morning, I got to pack it and hop on the train, or somebody's picking me up. So my international presence is geared more towards doing camps. I'm doing camps in Europe. I'm doing camps in Costa Rica on a regular basis. And I really enjoy it, because in the camp, we tend to hang around, not just on the mats, but kind of all together. So when I'm doing these camps, I try to do it in a place where there's other things to see. I've been doing a BJJ camp in Czech Republic in mid-June. Oh man, it's at least 7 years. And that's a lot of fun, because it's, obviously when we're there, we all hang out together. We go to dinner, we have beers together. We have ice cream together. We go to the pool together. We have a lot of fun. And then people can see, especially people that come from the US or Canada, they can, or other parts of Europe, they can sightsee. There's a lot of beautiful sights in Czech. In Costa Rica, I do it in the winter when it's cold here. So, we go to, it's dry season, we have a visit to a national park. So we train jiu-jitsu at least, there's 2 sessions usually per day, but one day was the day we go to national park. So we see monkeys, and it's beautiful weather in between. We have lunch together, jump in the pool, go in the beach. People can surf, so I really enjoy those dynamics. Don't get me wrong. I just did recently one in Holland, 3 days in Breda, Holland. We had like 80 people on the mats, and that was fun too, because even though people didn't necessarily go see the sites, but we again hung around together. So it was, that community feeling is a lot more prevalent than just doing a, one night seminar.
Yeah, like a 1-day seminar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And that's what, BJJ community, for people that don't understand, and I've beat the horse to death on this one, is you gain a family that you've never knew that you were going to ever gain, because of what you're doing, because of, how hard it is. And Karel, you touched on that earlier in the show, it's hard. And, so to do a camp, you really probably make lifelong friends, even being in that short period of time,
I've literally did the Costa Rica camp. There's a whole bunch of people. There's a third year in a row. There's people that are doing it a 3rd year in a row.
Nice.
Yeah, in Czech, it's there. We get some, that one, the Czech one is bigger. It's 60 people. It's probably 20 or 30 of them is the same people. And then we get 30 new ones, or, 30, some of the guys that came last year, now they have a family vacation conflict. They can't do it, but they come back next year. So yeah, you wind up, getting quite close to the people.
Chad, we'll get your passport and we'll go with Karel to Costa Rica, because
listen, you guys are always welcome. Yeah.
It's starting to get
but this one is already sold out, guys. Like, I literally put it, the third one, I put it on Facebook once.
Wow.
Once. And it's sold out.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Just goes to show you're running a great thing, man. You're doing a great thing. That's awesome.
Are those, Karel, those international guys, are those your affiliates?
Some of them are, some of them are not. So listen, I feel like almost, I'm not a religious person, but I feel almost evangelical passion for jiu-jitsu. So I would do things, especially I try to help out areas that don't necessarily may have the access to the same level of instruction that we have here in the US.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
Which makes it that even more better. You are going to places where it's not prevalent. It's not there. So you are, Karel, to say from the, like, a faith side or a religion side or whatever, but it's true, because you're going into deep depths of it's true in the fact of you're taking a amazing martial art and you're giving the ability to teach other people in areas that they may never ever see it. They may never ever have an opportunity to know someone that sees it, and now you're giving them an opportunity to show up and be like, wow, we could see it live. So that's awesome.
But in all fairness, like Costa Rica has a very strong jiu-jitsu scene. Czech Republic or Holland and Germany, it's grown tremendously. It's kind of exciting to actually see, where 10 years ago it was kind of really, listen, it's still obscure relative to other things in the US.
Sure.
But where it was really obscure, and now it's approaching to where US was like maybe 7-10 years ago.
Nice.
It's exciting to see how quickly the scene grows. And there's, some of those countries I have affiliates, where, the black belts, helping move the Brazilian jiu-jitsu to kind of, and they're catching up very quickly. It's pretty cool to see.
In all the international places that you've got to do seminar or do camps, let's say camps, is the jiu-jitsu different slightly because of culture?
I don't think it's different by country. I think it's different based on the head instructors.
Okay. Yeah.
So the school, it's the same here as the US. I think the head instructor will set a certain theme for the school. Like, when guys visit my academy in New Jersey, they can, have some high level black belts, and, some of them have schools on their own, but, like if they go with Frankie, if they go with Juan, if they go with Enrique, if they go with Mike or Sergio, every one of them has slightly different game from the others, maybe, focusing slightly different areas, but they come to me afterwards and like, I can tell these guys are students. So even though they kind of maybe tend to have a little bit different specialties, their game is broad enough, but they also have this overwhelming sort of idea. I just, I set up things in a way that leads to submission in a most efficient way.
Sure.
And that's sort of the prevalent theme in my academies. And I think that's kind of the theme that's present in a lot of the Renzo Gracie affiliated schools. So I think the head instructor kind of tends to drive how the jiu-jitsu will be in a school rather than country by country.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I always wondered like what that's like. And I always ask that type of question to people that have an international presence, because it's just intriguing to me. It's very intriguing to me of that.
Sounds like you should be going to one of these international camps.
I know.
Yeah.
I might eventually here. I always tease my wife and she's like, just go do it. Just go have fun.
No, but sometimes you just take her with you. Like here's the thing. If you're in Costa Rica, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be hot. We're going to be in the water a lot. You go to, for example, Czech Republic or Holland or Germany. It's going to be basically, you're going to train jiu-jitsu and they're going to be looking at some historical sites during the day. And then they can join us for dinner.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, depends what you're looking for. Yeah. What would you enjoy? What would your family enjoy?
My wife would want to go to Europe for sure, because she studied. She went to script school, and she was in Prague for a while when she was in college. So she's always talking about how the history and the amazing art that's there and everything. Which I've always been intrigued to it, because I think You know, that stuff's just stuff that you don't ever get to see. I'd rather see it live and, you know, the feel of it. It's like doing jujitsu. You can't just watch it. You got to feel it, right?
Yeah, you got to.
Until you're getting choked and you're like.
Sounds like you know which camp you should be going to.
Yeah.
So Ghee or no Ghee, man?
Oh, man. I'll give you the canned answer that I usually give to everybody. I like the Ghee in the winter and no Ghee in the summer. I'm always cold, but here's the reality. I personally probably prefer no Ghee because it's a faster paced game. Mm-hmm. However, I strongly encourage guys that are primarily no Ghee players to do at least one Ghee once a week. Yeah. And the guys that are primarily Ghee players to do no Ghee once a week, because the rhythm, the pace, the grips are different. And I'm, you know, when I do the Ghee, I will use the collar grips, I will use sleeve grips. I generally don't play with the lapel too much. And usually if I'm on the receiving side, and you know, as soon as I start to feel the opponent, the guy is starting to play around with the lapel, either mine or his, I change the position immediately, because I know something is coming. But I think you know, anybody, regardless whichever way they're leaning towards, should do Ghee. If you do no Ghee, you should do Ghee once a week, because it will change the pace. It changes the friction. It's actually, I was training with Enrique. We just filmed today's episodes of Roll with the Foxes on our YouTube channel, and then we train for an hour and 15 minutes, and we train in the Ghee afterwards. And then, you know, the friction is different. We wind up with a lot more submissions
in the Ghee.
But the pace is also slowed down. So
sure.
Yeah.
If you compete or if you want to fight, you need to, in a match, you need to change the rhythm maybe a couple times, depending on what's happening. Usually, just in general, you know, if you're fighting somebody, if you're on the offensive side, you want to have slower things. You want to have more control. If you're on the defensive side, you want to have a little bit more speed, you know, because that scrambling speed will probably be beneficial for you to escape a bad position, or possibly bad position. So I think if you try to mix it a little bit, you don't have to do, you know, 50-50, but you should be doing at least a little bit of one or the other.
Nice. Yeah, very good. That's what, I mean, I'm older, so that's why I'm always like, I need the Ghee to slow you down. But training Ghee and one of our other black belts that's at our place at East Coast, he's very good at no Ghee and stuff. And we were just talking this past week, and he's like, "Come on, you got to start. You got to get you in here on do at least one day a week." I'm like, all right,
I think it's a good idea. I think it's good.
And then he did the Peruvian necktie and Ghee. He's like, "Oh, that's my favorite no Ghee move." And I'm like, "Thanks, Pete. I have no idea what it was. It was like I was like, what is happening?" I like choked, grunted, tapped, and was like, "What the heck was that?" He's like, "Oh, it's my favorite no Ghee thing." I was like, "Oh, thanks, Pete."
It's kind of funny. It's like sometimes I have a purple or brown belt. It's like, "Oh, Fox, I've never seen this." I say, "Yeah, I know. I'm sure there's still a few other things you haven't seen yet."
You keep those in the bag. The bag of tricks. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Very cool. Did you guys have anyone compete out of your academy at Worlds?
No.
ABCC?
No.
Okay.
Like some of my, you know, some of the top level guys that, well, we did, but it just one or two. But the problem is some of the most senior guys, like some of the guys that have fought MMA or compete a lot, they're like, we're in a transition a little bit, because one of my black belts, Frankie, opened his school under my name here in northern New Jersey. Another black belt, Juan, he opened a school in Florida. So they were both like consistent competitors and MMA fighters. So they're kind of focusing on getting their schools up and running.
No, good for them.
I had Mike is transitioning from MMA to Jiu-Jitsu. Enrique, he and we both vaccinated. We wound up with the COVID back in September. He's got some lingering issues where his joints are not as flexible as they were. His lung capacity is not quite the same. So he bowed out both ADCC trials as well as Nogi Worlds. He actually competed on I think Fury grappling in Philly, where he RNC'd the guy pretty quickly, but he couldn't do 3-4, in in ADCC, you'd have to do minimum 4 or 5 matches to get to.
Yeah.
So he couldn't do that. So, and then I have some more junior students that are, up and coming. So
nice. That's awesome. That's what Chad has said this before, and you can correct me, Chad, obviously, but like the younger kids, like they're getting better and better than they ever been before, like what you've seen. And Karel, you've been in it for a long time too. Like, is that what you're seeing too? Like the youth is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think the dissemination of knowledge is like, it's a pretty exciting time to be in jiu-jitsu because the dissemination of knowledge is so much more rapid, primarily as a result of YouTube, because now guys just, I have 4 instructionals on BJJ Fanatics, but there's a lot of free stuff on my YouTube channel. And
right.
I also do a lot of stuff for TriStar Gym channel. And then also Flow Grappling now covers almost any tournament. So, 20 years ago, guy could have his own technique and kind of consistently be able to nail people with it. And nobody quite knew what it is because, might have got, come and gone and it's gone. But now with Flow Grappling, you can just YouTube that match or YouTube. If you can go to Flow Grappling and just kind of hit, rewind until you kind of understand what's going on. And so you can reverse engineer, you can figure out, counters to it. If that's something that you feel like you might be caught in it, or you might be able to sort of, bring into your arsenal without having to pay a dime for it, even, other than, Flow Grappling, subscription.
Your yearly subscription.
Yeah. So the dissemination of technique, information, is become so rapid and so prevalent that I think especially the younger generation is much more technically savvy than I. Yeah. I'm not going to say that you guys are, but certainly, so they can figure out, see things on Instagram immediately, and everything. And a lot of times, I've spent watching a 10-minute match between 2 guys that I know is going to be like watching paint dry, but I'm expecting that there's going to be at the end or close to, 7 minutes, 8 minutes down the road, there's going to be a specific, match is going to go a specific way. And I might watch it like literally to see, 3 seconds of that 10 minutes.
Yeah. That one thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
One thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Chad and I've talked about that. We always watch, who's number 1 and Fight to Win on Flow. Yeah. But the length of the matches have always been, and for me, it's different because I'm super young in my jiu-jitsu journey. So it's like, I have no idea what I'm seeing, or these guys are just kind of stalling and hanging out and working a 20-minute clock or whatever. Versus, I was telling Chad this, I watched a lot of the ADCC and I was just fascinated with it because it was shorter and it was so high paced.
Yeah, especially the first 2 rounds, 2 or 3 rounds. It was like literally, the first round or first and second round was like literally the matches would start in 30 seconds. A minute later there would be a submission, and it just moved such a rapid. Yeah.
You had to go back on there and actually watch some of those because there were specific guys. There was a lot of big name guys out there and a lot of guys that did the East Coast trials. So there was people I wanted to watch specifically, and the match was over quickly, and I was like, wait a minute. So I want to go back and watch. It was like, hold on, what happened?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, you can though. The technology is right now. You can. Absolutely. Something specific you could just repeat.
Not getting DVDs or VHS tapes and practicing in the garage like you 2 did.
Hey, that Henzo Craig Kukuk was one of the first ones I ever watched.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, at the time it was, like there was nothing out there.
And he was one of the first black belts did he open a school in New Jersey or in New York?
Yeah. He got basically what wound up happening. He was the first American black belt, but not a lot of people know about it. I don't think he's contributing much to the jiu-jitsu scene right now, but when he did is he got sent to New Jersey by Horian. They were partners. And what he would do is back in the day, he would teach a class in central New Jersey, roughly, Red Bank, New Jersey. Then he would teach one class a week in the city, and then 1 class a week in Philly.
Oh, wow.
So that's, usually that's how, and do a lot of privates, I think. So that's how things were. Like he was based in Central Jersey, but he would do Central Jersey, the city, and then Philly.
Wow. A lot of travel. Awesome. But it's also doing it for something.
Yeah, but if you're in Central Jersey, it's about an hour, an hour to the city, an hour to Philly. So it's kind of like
okay, that's not so bad. Yeah.
And if you're teaching 3 days a week, it's not a whole lot of, 3 days is not a lot.
Sure.
But even back then it was $25 cash.
Oh, is that what it was per class?
So you got,
What was that, Karel? Back in the early days when you started, what was that room at Renzo's like? Like, had to be pretty intense, right?
Oh yeah. I think it's yeah. Back in the day, I was, because I had a pretty demanding job, so I could go to Renzo's maybe 2-3 times a week. So I had to try to train with guys in my basement and wherever we could. And I remember I was a blue belt at the time. I'm training with this guy in Basking Ridge in New Jersey at a Y, and we're on that gymnastics floor that's kind of like bouncy.
Oh, yeah, it's got a spring to it. Yeah.
And the freaking guy is trying to stomp my head.
Oh man!
When I armbarred him, I made him scream because I was like, because that's a fight. You're trying to stomp my head.
Sure,
that's a fight. And, screams. Everybody looks over. They start laughing, and then the guy's just running off the mats and he's puking along the way. But that's back in the day. That was kind of.
Right.
Back in the day, that might have been more normal. But,
I was going to say, was that was like a norm? Was that kind of normal? Like to go? I know we talk about going hard now, and sometimes you're like, "Hey, what are you doing? We're working here. Like, why are you trying to kill me? Like, whatever." But back then, that was kind of normal, right?
Yeah, it was kind of normal. I remember this one time. A guy came in and used to train in the just in shorts, no rash guard, no t-shirt, no nothing, and he's covered with freaking bumps all over his body. He's like, what is that? And he's like, I don't know. To me, you have a guy that impetigo on his face, and it's like, hey, what is that? Well, I don't know. Well, don't you think you should have it checked out because this was not on your face a week or two ago? Get the hell,
get out of here. Right.
Yeah, I'm not trading with you.
Man.
Discover a new version of ringworm or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, hey,
but guys be like, well, I don't know what it is, so I'm just
no.
Yeah.
Answer is no.
Yeah. Go away.
Yeah.
What if I just cover it up? No. How about you leave?
Yeah.
Listen, if it's the only thing on your body and you can cover it with 2 layers of tape, maybe. But
not all over.
Get the hell away from me.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool. All right, man. What's your top 5? Chad, I screwed this up. Go ahead. His Mount Rushmore. Dang it.
Oh, his Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or it doesn't have to be your.
It doesn't have to be your.
Let's say top 5 guys you like watching. Oh, yeah.
Well, it changes because if you look at it, 5, 10, 20 years ago would be
it'd be different.
It'd be Renzo Gracie for sure. Marcelo Garcia,
right.
Cabrinha, guys like that, Braulio Estima, Victor Estima.
Right.
So, but now it's changed. I'm a fan of like the rapid, fast-paced game. I enjoy watching Canuto. I like, watching guys like, Ethan Krellinston, and, I enjoy, Gary Tonin for sure,
Right.
Gordon. I enjoy Craig Jones tremendously. When he was training in the city with us for a long time, I enjoy training with him a lot. Oliver Taza. Guys like an upcoming another guy from TriStar, Pierre Olivier from TriStar. So I like watching guys that kind of have a fast-paced, submission-oriented game.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've left out, 1 or 2 guys from that equation, but it changes. But I just kind of prefer that submission oriented style, and again, then I do enjoy kind of watching guys that have fought MMA or have good jiu-jitsu, but, fight or fought MMA too, Naaman Gracie's, Bellator,
sure.
Guys like that. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we always, it's always, and Chad started asking that question, like, since we've been doing the show, and it's always fascinating. And you're 100% right, Karel. It's always going to change because it's going to change on what's happening in the jiu-jitsu world and how people are approaching it. And I'm with you. Like, I love submission hunting. Like, I don't do my game that way because obviously I'm learning. So, but watching
you know, it's a function of your toolbox, which is being filled. Everybody should be continuing to fill their toolbox, but for you, it's, you know, you just started to put some tools in there, you know.
Thank God.
Makes sense.
There are some tools going in there.
I think for me, no matter if it's 10 years from now or whatever, Marcelo and Rafa Mendes will always be on my list. Those two guys will always be on my list to watch. So
I like Cabrinha's style too.
Cabrinha too.
Me, I actually went against him 2008 twice, but you know, he's up there as well, you know. So I think, you know, the more I think about it, I'm sure I forgot a couple of guys that I'm, you know, really, of course, Renzo, you know.
Sure.
But, you know, Renzo's, you know, I think one of the things that people don't underestimate is, number one, is kind of how his technical abilities is pretty amazing. And the environment that he created there that allowed so many, good black belts and teachers and practitioners and competitors to come out of that academy.
Right. Yeah.
That's good. Good stuff, man. Awesome. We got you, sir, a solid hour, and we talked about all kinds of different things.
We did. We covered a lot of different things for sure. Yeah.
That's how we like to do it.
Karel, I appreciate you reaching back out, because I had messaged you months ago and I knew you were swamped busy. So I appreciate you reaching back out and setting this up too.
Yeah.
No, I try to, like, you know, if people reach out, I try to, you know, be responsive, because you know, I know you guys, you know, if you reach out, if you, you know, thought that I was worthy to be reached out to, I feel like I need
for sure.
You know, I need to come back. If I can't give you a date right now, I will come back to you and give you a date in the future. I was like, basically, I wound up doing massive, you know, I was supposed to go back and forth to Europe like 5 or 6 times. And because I got COVID, I had to cancel one camp. It was not the only one. I didn't cancel camp, but I couldn't go to that one because I was positive.
I was sick.
And then, you know, and then things, you know, now kind of became more manageable. So I'm happy to do this.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a privilege for us, definitely, because, you know, what I tell people all the time, you know, if they ask me, hey, why'd you start doing a podcast, or why is it got to be jiu-jitsu? Like, you're not very, you know, into jiu-jitsu. You haven't been around. I was like, well, thank God I have good people. I circle myself with good people. Chad, my coach. I get people like you on the show to where we want to pass the knowledge of how great jiu-jitsu is, what kind of community it is, the family, and what people do for each other. It's totally different. Like, people are like, oh man, you can learn how to fight. And I'm like, it's awesome. But actually, if you talk to majority of people, they don't fight. Like, no one fights. Like, unless they're competing, that's different, or MMA. I mean, obviously, but I was like, no one's street fighting in jiu-jitsu. You'd be amazed. Like, no one, it's not the thing.
They could if ever called upon.
Right. Exactly. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, don't mistake that we can't. I'm like, just know that we don't. Which is good. Awesome. Karel, thank you, man, so much for hanging out.
It was truly my pleasure talking to you guys.
Good luck with everything you're doing, man. God bless you and everything. Get well, that back, man. And hey, is there anything you want to shout out? Any sponsor people, your gym, obviously, let people know how they can get to you, your YouTube channel and everything.
Everything is easy. Everything is under Silver Fox BJJ. So if you Google Silver Fox BJJ, it'll bring you to my website. Probably the BJJ Fanatics. If you're looking for my instructionals, just put in Fox in the search box. YouTube, Silver Fox BJJ channel. So everything is easy. Silver Fox BJJ.
And for everybody out there, I will let Karel quickly tell you all why he's called the Silver Fox.
The hair. So I've had gray hair for a long time, maybe 15, 17 years ago. There was a guy at Renzo's that, you know, I used to train in the morning, John's class in the morning for many, many years. And he would come in with a beautiful double leg takedown, pick me up. My head would nearly hit the ceiling and put me down. As soon as we hit the ground, he'd be tapping. And that's the guy that gave me the name. I guess, like, he was taking, you know, he was trying to take privates with John to see how he can thwart the Silver Fox.
That's awesome.
Outfoxing him. That's what.
Basically.
That's what you did.
And combine the gray hairs and.
Hey, and in true jiu-jitsu fashion, you're given a nickname. You don't come up with your own.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
That's awesome. Awesome. Very good. Good stuff, man. All right, Karel, thank you so much for hanging with us.
Thanks, brother.
Be safe, man, in all your travels, and we'll see you soon down the road. Good.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, we hope you enjoyed the show today. Remember, go out there and check out all our sponsors. By supporting them, you support the LimitLess Radiocast podcast. It helps us bring you guys content each and every week and keeps us going. Thank you, and we appreciate you for all you do. Limitless Radiocast is brought to you by True Tubes Tattoo Supply. Limitless 10 at checkout for a 10% discount on all your tattoo needs. They have state-of-the-art equipment for everyday needs in the tattooer's life. Check them out. Remember, stay true. Limitless Radiocast is also brought to you by Magic City Brewing Company. Best beer brewed in the hometown of Akron, Ohio. Check them out. Check out RollAmongUs.com. Put in Limitless20 at checkout for a 20% discount on all your fight gear needs. That's Ghees, Lanky Ghees, rash guards, spats, fight shorts. They have t-shirts and accessories. Check them out. Great place ran by a great guy. Also, check out BattleBomb.com. Put in Limitless20 at checkout for a 20% discount. You have CBD and non-CBD rub to rub on those aches and pains from hard training, hard work, everyday life. Check them out. Remember, Limitless20 at checkout, BattleBomb.com.